Omar Heltakori is a powerhouse in content creation, entrepreneurship, and faith-driven leadership. As the founder of the video department, Omar's expertise in helping brands create authentic, impactful video content has helped countless entrepreneurs amplify their online presence. He's also known for his thought-provoking podcast, The Department, where he dives into the world of digital marketing, personal branding, and content creation with a faith-based lens. Beyond his entrepreneurial ventures, Omar integrates his role as a pastor, offering a unique perspective on faith and business and that it can coexist, even in the often chaotic world of digital content. He's been at the forefront of discussions on the saturation of podcasting and content creation, giving clear advice on how to thrive in an overcrowded space. We will be uncovering the nuances of building a personal brand, facing the tough realities of team dynamics, and growing your business with authenticity, purpose, while maintaining your faith. Whether you're a content creator, you're an entrepreneur, or just someone looking to expand your brand, Omar's candid approach offers a blueprint for success. Omar, thank you for being here.
I call that the honor hook. I feel so honored.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here.
Thank you for being here. I hope it's okay. I'm going to start with, you posted recently, it's now after the election, and you posted the golfing, the two with like, this is...
Yeah, this is my life when, if Trump wins, my life if Kamala wins, yeah.
Here's the crazy part, and it's probably one of the frustrating parts for me with social media, is that people don't swipe.
Right.
And people are like, unfollow. What were you thinking when you posted it?
Well, number one, I stole the idea. Let's start there. But the friend of mine who actually posted something similar, he didn't put it on a swipe. And I don't know. That was just like I was like, let's make it a carousel.
Yeah.
But I guess Trump is a trigger word. And so people didn't swipe. But you can't win. That's what was cool. That was cool about the post is it shows... What it revealed was kind of just the temperament and like how on edge people were, which I think there's some wisdom to unpack in regards to like knowing the pulse. Like when you understand the pulse of the people who follow you or you're reaching, or even just the temperament of culture, being able to, trigger something that might be, it's just I think what did it do? It yielded engagement. And I honestly didn't realize it was going to go as crazy as it did, but it was funny.
People were triggered. I was reading your comments as if I was very entertained. So I thank you for my entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
Omar, you are a pastor and I'm a PK.
Oh, sweet.
And one of the things that I love about your content and how it actually, like how you popped up on my feed, was talking about the integration or like the fact that being faith-based and also being an entrepreneur and wanting to make money could coexist.
Yeah.
Talk about the complexities of what that looks like in the language of communicating faith and having faith, and yes, being meek, but also like, I want everything with my name on it. And I don't want to just get to the 6 figures. I want to get to the 7 and the 8 figures, but I know that's a difficult conversation inside the church.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's been a journey, and the maturity of my theology around the concept of wealth and business and financial upside has matured, as I've grown, even in my journey. I originally thought I was, if you watch like old podcasts or even times where I've talked about my journey, as far as it felt like I was choosing to go down 2 paths, when like, as I've grown in this and learned more about biblical principles for business, you realize that it actually is one path and God ordains it. I mean, it's funny because it's like, how healthy do you desire to be?
Right.
As healthy as possible.
Right.
How smart do you desire to be?
As smart as possible.
As smart as possible. How blessed do you desire to be? But if you ask the question like, how rich do you desire to be? It gets awkward. It's like an awkward question, especially in churchdom. And man, I don't know. I part of it was being a part of this guy Myron Golden's inner circle. Like he kind of showed a lot of it. I think at its core, there is this what I believe is a demonic stronghold, and that is that the more poor you are, the more holy you are. And anytime you see somebody prospering, or, you know, whether it's like, you know, and the reality is, men look at the outward, God looks at the heart.
Yeah.
I use that to my advantage. I don't over spiritualize that idea. Men look at the outward. So a lot of times, like the type of watch I wear, it provokes conversations with certain people that I actually want to be involved in their life.
Right.
And me knowing that, it makes me know that these things are just tools. But God looks at the end of the day, you know, how's your heart around the thing? So, I mean, the thing about the church is, I believe the church is the hope of the world, the local church. However, I wouldn't say but, I would say the church is the hope of the world, and the partnership of entrepreneurs with the local church. Right. It is salaries that give to tithing. It is, you know, people who have the gift of giving. It's the people who are able to use their imagination to accelerate time and space to make money that can advance the kingdom. Yeah. So, I mean, all of that has been like a journey I've been on, and I'm realizing it's, you know, there's only been a few voices during, like, even right now, and also previous. I think about like Miles Monroe. Right. He was talking about this stuff. But I mean, not too many. I mean, God bless him. You know, he's gone, and that's why I love content, because we can consume him still, which just shows the power of that idea, and that's why I love talking about video and content. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I'm answering the question. It's been a journey, and I'm realizing that I need to lead people in it as I'm even, you know, discovering more about it. And the reality is, the Bible says it's, you know, the farmer who has grain should sell it and he'll be blessed, but the one that holds it back will be cursed. That tells me that, like, selling isn't bad. There's a godly way to sell people something. I just posted today about, you know, in Ephesians 5, I believe it's Ephesians 5, where it says, redeem your time, for the days are evil. And the word redeem means to make the most out of every opportunity. The word redeem means to maximize what you're doing and essentially buy back your time. Right. And buying back your time means you're paying somebody to do something for you that they're put on this planet to do, so that you can do the thing that you've been put on this planet to do. And this is where you just learn about the ecosystem of God. And it is a beautiful thing when you know what you're supposed to do and you go all in with that. Yeah. And then you trust what other people are gifted at and are called to do. And so, yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm still, you know, unpacking it. It's
an interesting conversation, because I have these conversations with my friends who are faith-based, and like we're having them internally, but sometimes I'll say something in a circle and maybe it's not the right time or place, or someone will ask and then they don't like my response. But God's will for my life is not for me to be poor. Like, no. There's literally the parables of the talents. I mean, there are so many examples where biblical principles literally apply to entrepreneurship. I think it's one of the reasons why I love Myron is it's someone like us who speaks the language of wealth building, and I could talk about that forever, but yes, you know, where the prayer where it says, our Heavenly Father, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I feel like we just skip over that on earth as it is in heaven part. And I want all of it. I want the on earth as it is in heaven. Yes. One of my greatest fears is, or it's probably top fears, is getting to the end of my life and getting to heaven and God being like, I had all of this for you with your name on it. Right. But you wanted to play small. Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's not just there. Jesus says the kingdom is at hand. It's here. It's now. And so that Zoe life in John 10:10, where he says the life and life more abundantly, that like we have access to that. And I can't think about abundance and think lack at the same time. Right. You know, I mean, but this is also pre-law. Like, God's given us the ability to get wealth, meaning it's there. Right. Honestly, you know, my pastor, his name is Pastor Jabin Chavez. He's brilliant. And he did a talk for the staff at our church about blessing and how, like, we don't like go and get blessing. We just get under blessing.
blessing's already pouring out. God's pouring out his blessing on his people, but like we're just outside of the rain where it's falling. And I think that idea, it's like that's why the journey of entrepreneurship, the journey of faith, it's a journey of awareness. It's not a journey of lack. It's already there. But can I be more aware of the thing?
Right.
I love that we relate to God and being close to him as being in his presence. Does that mean God's presence comes and goes? No. I believe it means our awareness of it increases when you know his presence is there. So in the same way, I believe it's kind of, that's how I felt in the journey. And like, as you know, we've prospered, it's been so cool. And I feel like it's all just eye-opening. It's all it is. Like, oh man, I had a limiting belief about that. And then it got opened. It was always there.
Right.
It takes things sometimes for us to have our eyes open or become more aware of the thing that God's leading you to.
Speaking of leading you to, we're both podcasters. We both are entrepreneurs. And the number one question that people ask me about content and podcasting is, but it's already so oversaturated, Omar. There's no space for me. What would you tell them in 2024 going into 2025? I think the statistic is 90% of podcasts don't make it to episode 3. And if you get to episode 19 or 20, you're in the top 1%. What would you tell someone who is still unsure of whether they should launch their podcast because it's so oversaturated?
How you see something is the reality you live in. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So honestly, if you think it's oversaturated, you're going to have a hard time doing it. So what you need to do is reframe your belief around the idea. And I like helping people see it. And the reality is here's 2 realities that are true. The first is more people are attempting it more than ever. Yes. But the amount of people that are taking it serious is still small.
Right.
The amount of people that are willing to rent out a studio and coordinate a time where we can come in place, even though we don't live in the same city, to make something very valuable happen, like this conversation. I mean, 1% of people who are attempting it. You know what? A terrible word, by the way, to just take out of your vocabulary is try. Like, man, I tried podcasting or I tried creating content.
Did you though?
I mean, the reality is if you try it, anything doesn't mean you actually gave it a valiant effort, because I think better than trying something is just committing to it. You know, I tried going to the gym multiple times a year and I am constantly failing at it.
Correct.
But it's because I'm just trying.
Right.
I tried that. I tried reading the Bible. You didn't. You know, you didn't. Anyway, so that's one side of it, is like change your belief around it. Is that the people who are doing it well and who are doing it right is a very small percentage. So it's not oversaturated at the top. It is oversaturated maybe at the starting phase, right? Then we can talk about what we got to do in order to get to the top. But the second idea is with more saturation comes more distinction. And I love in Daniel, the book of Daniel, I think chapter 2 or 3, he says, Daniel distinguished himself amongst the leaders, the government officials and all those people. He distinguished himself. What I find people do oftentimes is they disqualify themselves rather than letting that enable why they're distinguished. And there's a difference. Some people will say, man, I'm just this, I'm just that. You're disqualifying yourself when those things are actually distinguishing you on how you're able to even stand out.
Yeah.
So because I leaned in even into the faith aspect of my content creation and all those things, like really building my personal brand, because I've leaned into it, it is a very distinct brand and you just know it's Omar,
right?
You know? And so everyone has that opportunity at hand. And so those would be the 2 like things I would say to a person who says, man, it's oversaturated. It's like, okay, it's not oversaturated at the top. So commit. I like to say pre-decide. Pre-decision, meaning decide is to cut off. So like that word just means to remove all other options. Trying something is that you're actually weighing many options when you try something. And I preached a sermon a couple weekends ago on how after the church started in Acts chapter 2, it says, then they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, the breaking of bread, and to prayer. And the word devoted, it simply means they cut off all their options. It was like they didn't try, learning about the teachings of the apostles. They didn't try breaking bread. They didn't try prayer. It was like, this is what we did. Yeah. And I would just say devote yourself to the thing you're supposed to be, you're called to do.
I heard you say in one of your episodes, it might have been the conversation with Myron, where most people are like, I don't know what content to make, and I don't have anything to share, or my life is boring, or I'm an introvert, and yada, yada, yada. But what you said that I think is so brilliant is every aspect of our life is content. Mm-hmm. The camera's just not on.
Yep.
What are some tips that people can use and apply in order to, to be devoted to the process, and then in addition, everyone's trying to monetize before they figure out why they're trying to monetize.
Right.
What are some things that people can apply before they get started? And what are the things that are important for them to remember as they're on that journey?
Yeah. I mean, I think as you bring up those like thoughts that people are probably thinking about, I would say you got to change your self-talk. Like, what are if you're actually telling yourself things like, and nobody cares, what am I going to talk about? I'm not that special. Like, you keep talking to yourself like that, yeah, you ain't going to do nothing, So I'll just start there. Like, change your self-talk, and then shift your perspective to a place of, rather than making it about you, make it about them. That's it. That is like, and who's the them? So like, stop for a second. Just rather than like thinking about what content you need to make and this and the other, think about the people you desire to help. And I think that's just the most practical approach, because we see people doing content at certain levels in different parts. And the thing is, it's an evolution. Like, I've evolved. Even like what I'm able to post that will yield engagement is different than somebody who has a smaller following. There has to be seasons of focused intensity around a specific idea or focus, and then just become like, own that, and then slowly it can expand to other things. But I would say, yeah, change the way you think about it, and something that does break free a lot of people from being stuck at creating is just seeing the opportunity that everything is content. Yeah. Two kind of trains of thought I've been kind of on right now is rather than trying to make content, don't think of it like you need to like polish up and like get a light on and all that stuff. It's rather than trying to make the content, you can be the content. And that just simply, that idea, it works better for Instagram, but it also works for YouTube. But the essence of, if a camera was on while you did your thing, right, you could always figure it out later. So maybe you do presentations, turn on a camera. Maybe you do Zoom calls or coach calls. Maybe you lead leadership meetings. Whatever it is, turn on a camera.
Right.
And then you could figure it out later how you post that. What's crazy is Myron's grown his YouTube channel almost 900,000 subscribers from talking to a group of people that come to his office. And a lot of times he's not even looking at the camera, only when he starts his videos, but the camera's just on and you just get him. He is the content, right? And that, I think some of us, we compartmentalize the idea of creating content to a place where it has to be specifically when the camera is on. No, how about you're already creating content because you're alive,
right,
and just turn on a camera.
Praise God.
The other side of it that you could think about is that your calendar is your content. So what's on your calendar? Well, I wake up in the morning and I read my Bible, I hang out with my kids. Okay, literally get a phone tripod and film that, and then post it like how you start your mornings.
Right.
Like, you don't have to talk to do that. Just get a 10-second clip, put a trending audio, and you're good.
Right.
If you're at the gym and you're doing your 30 minutes of, low cardio, whatever you call it, low heart rate cardio, keeping your heart at 135 BPM. Huh? Zone 2 cardio.
Oh, zone 2. We'll have to talk about
which
that.
I've been told that if you can't hold a conversation, you're actually moving too fast.
Oh.
For 30.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Like,
I shall be applying that.
Yeah. Like so if you put your like treadmill on incline, it should be at a speed where you can have a conversation. So sometimes like that's like, your creative juices are going when you're out for a walk and stuff. Just, okay, if it's on the calendar, I got my 30-minute cardio set, like, share a thought. Don't even edit it. Right.
Yeah.
The idea is that you're not really like focused on the production value. You're just getting more comfortable sharing, whatever it is you're doing. A new one, so that was the 2.
Okay.
Be the content. Your calendar is your content. Those are 2 unlocking thoughts. Something I love from I did a podcast yesterday with a friend. Her name's Jerisha Hawk. But she said, I think of my content like my church. And there's people that come for the information, and then they'll come back for it too. Like, because a lot of times people will say, well, I'm going to run out of stuff to talk about. Well, share it all. Don't hold back any new discovery. And by the way, if you are running out of content, you're not learning enough.
Right.
If you learn something every day, you'll be in a constant state of creating because you're consuming. And most people that feel like if they're 3 YouTube videos away from running out of content, you're not a deep enough well, and that's okay. You can hide for another 2 years, just get better, like consume content,
right.
And then document yourself getting better.
Yeah.
And so that you have that journey to maybe share. But I say all that to say, that 2 trains of thought. Some people have so much to offer. Just turn on a camera. Right. Other people, it's like, start getting better, like learn more, become more interesting without forcing it, as far as like lean into the things that you find naturally, interesting, and just become better at it. And I think you'll have so much to offer.
A conversation I had this morning with my producer and COO is we were talking about a client that we have, and the concern was, are we going to run out of content? Or at least this is what someone said to us. And the reality is, it's a blessing and a curse. Adam, I'm going to need you to get it together with the algorithm. I'm not even sure you know what you want, but...
Dude, you talking about the CEO of Instagram?
Yeah.
Homie said if your content isn't producing well, we're going to lower the quality.
Like, that doesn't help me. Yeah.
It's like, what? I spent all this money on this equipment. You're going to lower the quality? Like,
literally in a whole studio, but you're going to lower it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Or you're going to give me 30-second music like MySpace that I didn't ask you for. Could you just show my audience the content or chronological?
Honestly.
But, I said all that to say, with considering they show our content to about 7 to 10% of our audience. And people see that as a negative. The way that I view that for both Sara Lovestyle and Influence to Equity, the podcast itself and the brand, is that means there's a new opportunity for me to continue to share, because the likelihood is this is the first time this person is meeting me. And if I speak to an audience of 1, especially because I am an introvert, it's easier for me to produce content if I feel like I'm talking to 1 person.
For sure.
And when the content isn't even being seen by 97% of my audience or 93% of my audience, there's also something to be said about continuing to talk about yourself.
100.
Because if you run out of content, they didn't see it anyway.
Yeah.
Make more content.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think about is, so the reason why I started Sara Lovestyle, and which then led to Influence to Equity, is my son is nonverbal autistic.
Wow.
And a few years ago, 5 years ago, I'm having this conversation with God. I am mad. And I'm like, God, I'm not mad at you. And I'm not saying, well, I'm me, because that's my baby. That's my dog. I am meant to be his mother. I'm made for this journey. But what I'm trying to understand in the midst of suing my county where I live because of my son, what do you want me to do? I was shy. I'm introverted. You would never know I was in a room. And God so loudly says to me, he may not have a voice, but you do. And you're wasting it. So if you are someone who's listening to our podcast and you don't know what you're supposed to do, or you think that you have nothing to say and that nobody's going to care about what you have to say, the reality is I think about my son often, and imagine being locked in your mind, and then for me, wasting the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
What we do is to serve.
Right.
The intent of content is to serve. But if someone is trying to find this place of authenticity, which is a word that's makes me cringe a little bit, is authenticity and actually purpose. Those are my 2 trigger words as a creator. How can someone find their authentic voice while also being purposeful about the message and the language that they're trying to communicate?
It's great. I mean, just to unpack from somebody who says that if you feel like everyone's going to watch your stuff, don't think that, because it's not true. And there's so many ways you can re-say something, repackage it, And the reality is like you're 10 feet deep in the thing you're talking about, and the people even consuming it are dipping their toes.
Right.
So even if they heard it again, they ain't gonna be mad.
No.
I'm grateful for it, you know? Like I love taxes because I need to hear it 10 times and then it clicks at some point, you know? To answer the question, how do you find your voice? I kind of found my voice from unpacking why I was so attracted to certain voices. I always like to encourage people. It's kind of my pastor encouraged me because he's helped me a lot when it comes as far as communication goes and becoming a better and more effective communicator. There's a reason why you're attracted to voices and people and creators or, you know, what have you. There's a reason. And it's good if you kind of like would be like the sum average of those people and then you sprinkled in, and over time it really becomes you and then them sprinkled in. But I mean, I'm hyper attracted to teachers. It's like for me, I'm like two ends of the spectrum. I love practical teaching, and then I love like powerful preaching. And when I say powerful, I mean like storytelling, like changing inflections, cadence, like Robert Madu. I don't know if you know Robert Madu, and you know, people like Judah Smith and these orators who are very well at like painting imagery with stories and kind of what Jesus did. But then I love Chris Hodges and Myron Golden and like, so there's a reason why I'm attracted to both. Now, like if I try too hard to be either one, it's going to be weird, but I think it's fine. Just have them as a North Star.
Sure. And
then over time you become like kind of the sum average and then you become okay with yourself. I mean, but it does take like putting yourself out there and just hating your voice first. Man, I don't like making
20 episodes.
Yeah, I don't like making videos because I just don't like, dude, this sounds so self-serving and kind of like sketch, but I love watching myself.
I love it.
Because I'm like, I'm going to say it better this time, you know? Dang, all the time, even when Art's trying to cut up my video guy, like a clip or something, he like can't do it because I'm like not getting to the point. Yeah. I'm like, I need to get better at getting to the point, you know? So I say all that to say, like, get over that season. There's just seasons. Like, a same with, like, the journey of the evolution, like I mentioned, of becoming somebody who has more, I guess you could say, permission to share certain other things, you know, regarding life. But, I say finding your voice. Who are 3 to 5 voices that you just, for some reason, kind of unpack. Rather than just liking them, find out why you like them. This kind of, like, I think it's one of my gifts is curiosity, you know, but everyone should at some level, you know, implement curiosity in your growth journey, because understanding why people do things and the reason why they do things, and knowing yourself, like, why did you click on this video? What about the thumbnail phrase got you to click on that? I always like, if you want good video ideas, go to your history. Go to your saved. Why did you save the saves that you did on Instagram that we always do and we never go back to,
right?
You know, because it was probably so valuable. Right. And so, like, how can you recontextualize the thing that got your attention for your own kind of focus or subject matter?
It's interesting when you said that that you like watching yourself. So I don't enjoy it. However, the reasons why we do it is the same thing. It's why athletes go back and watch film. 100. The only way to, like, I have to. I remember episode 1 watching it and just, it's so bad. It's so bad.
What episode are you on right now?
This is 33, 34?
33, 34.
Depending on when this launches, it might be episode like 37 or 40.
Sure, great. Dude, my first episode was with my wife. Yeah, I mean, it was just because I needed a first episode.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, because you talked about faith and ministry and how you balance it all.
Yeah, and
see, I did my
research. There you go. Hey, you're a real one.
My research. I've seen all the episodes.
It took 10 episodes for me to realize what even the temperament of the podcast was.
Yeah.
And then even more so realizing, like, oh, okay, it's definitely not gonna be that. And what's really cool is, you know, one avenue of monetization for a podcast is people paying you to be on, because you've created a platform, you have an audience, and it's exposure. And I've turned down close to $50,000 for guests wanting to come on my podcast simply because there's no alignment. And and I probably wouldn't even have that confidence if I didn't have the confidence to know who's really watching and what is the department, you know? And that just came over time. You know, we're a year in. We're going to hit 52 episodes in a couple weeks, and that just, there's no way to figure that out other than doing.
Yeah.
I like to say doing leads to discovery. Mm-hmm. And it's discovery of the information you need to get better. Doing leads to discovery for you.
Right.
Doing leads to discovery for, even by being consistent on these platforms, they give you insight for doing the thing.
Right.
And then you can take that insight and adjust. And then doing leads to discovery of you from other people. They discover you because you've just been showing up,
right?
You know? And just to speak for I know kind of backtracking, but like it's a little oversaturated. There's one platform that really, up to this point, has prioritized video podcasting, and that's YouTube. Just one platform. Not Netflix, not Hulu, not none of that stuff. But Spotify actually, I don't know if you noticed, yesterday, on November 14th, sorry, I just dated the podcast.
No, you're good.
But they announced that they're going to prioritize video podcasting, and it's going to have an algorithm, and people are going to be able to be discovered, and you also can get monetized. Mm-hmm. It's just, there you go. Just another avenue, another opportunity. So we are at the precipice of still the beginning stages. And I don't know if do you watch Colin and Samir?
I do.
They did
We're going to have similar offices. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but we're going to have offices in the same building.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me know.
I know y'all don't know me yet,
I've been trying to.
I'm going to be your neighbors.
That's cool.
In like a month.
That's actually really smart. Because then anytime you can just like, hey, whoever their guests that come in, just like, oh, wow, you're cool. I actually have a podcast. Oh, cool. I'm doing a podcast right now. Great. You live in town? Yeah. All right, I'll come back next week. Cool. You got a guest.
So it's called The Lighthouse. I think I'm allowed to talk about it, but I will get permission after I film this, and I'll give them a call. So the place is called The Lighthouse, and I don't typically do free promo, but I love them. And they've created essentially like a Soho house for creators here in LA, cool. Out in Venice. And so the offices.
Is it like you pay a year?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll have similar offices.
That's
There's
really
like
cool.
6 podcast
do you know what
studios.
the Soho thing is? Like in New York and LA, you can it's like a country club without golf. That's probably the way to put it.
But this will be straight for creators.
Yeah.
6 podcast studios, test kitchens for content. I mean, it's the whole concept is incredible.
That's fire. I love that. Yeah. But they did a thing on like, you know, the election, and how this was like the podcast election, and Trump was on a handful of podcasts that equated to about 13 hours of time spent that you could have watched Trump in a very unedited, superhuman manner. Yeah. Whereas Kamala, she only had 3 hours, and everything she did was a little bit produced, whether it was a little edited or the Call Her Daddy girl like came and set up her studio where she was at. Yeah. Like Trump went to a creator's, environment, and then put himself in the seat. Yeah. And I think I don't even think it's facts, but it helped his marketing. Yeah. And it was a lot cheaper too.
Yeah, I think they said his reach was like 145 million and hers was 17 million.
There you go.
Just from a podcast space. I don't think people understand how much work goes into what we do.
Sure.
But also understanding not just from the filming, like this part is great, right? We're filming it. It's cool. Our teams are here. But there's a science to YouTube. There's a science to the thumbnails. There's a science to the descriptions and the captions. And there's a YouTube, at least I know for our team, everything's very, very data driven.
Sure.
And I think there's a misconception. We just turn the cameras on, we talk, we post it, and like we hope for the YouTube gods for this thing to move.
Yeah.
What are some things that people should keep in mind, and how can they improve on like those very concepts?
Sure. Great. I'll first say that I think everything is science, right? Like you can't just go to the gym and just move. Like there's a type of weight you need to do at a certain rep and a certain form. Like formula for success is required for any success, you know. As far as YouTube goes, I like to say that YouTube, more than it is a video platform, it's a packaging platform. And the only way to grow in the skill of learning how to package a YouTube video to increase your opportunity for max exposure is to be a a student of YouTube to consume it. And like kind of going back is like find out why you click because it's a psychological thing. Like the way you package something speaks to the psychology of the consumer. And so that's why having a pulse on your consumer, me posting that post on Instagram, I had a pulse of what was going on, which is why it yielded so much engagement. If I didn't have a pulse and I posted something random like that, like way random time frame, then it wouldn't have, turned out the same. So I say all that to say, what is packaging? Packaging is how you choose to wrap the information you're sharing. And there's a few ways to actually wrap it. Mm-hmm. One way to wrap your content is through the type of format you decide to put it in. And I like to say there's 5 content formats that are really most important to consider. You have vlogging, you have video podcasting, you have live streaming, you have talking head, and then you have faceless. Like, pick one. You could make the same video in different formats and they could perform differently. Mm-hmm. So I call that content formats. I've made videos when I used to make content for Think Media. I made the same kind of video in every kind of format. I would make the best camera for YouTube, vlog style. I would make the best camera for YouTube sitting at a desk and then delivering the information and then adding B-roll. Mm-hmm. We've done best camera for YouTube in a conversation standpoint. Mm-hmm. I've done best camera for YouTube as a live stream and using a slide deck presentation and sharing slides. And then we did like live streams too. Like when a camera would release, we would live stream and talk about it. No edits, right? So they all have their approach or their pros and cons. I err toward the ones that require the least amount of editing. Yeah. But actually what's cool about vlogging is if you vlog chronologically, it is very simple to edit. Mm-hmm. Video podcasting, it's very minimally edited. And I don't know if somebody's switching right now, but I use AI to switch our podcasts. Yeah, that's what we do. We just put our energy in the intro, and we'll talk about intro when I get into the next type of packaging. And then live streaming is phenomenal because you're done. Come prepared, right? Deliver, and there is something powerful about you being consumed. People watch you and they don't see you being all jump cutted. Like the transfer of feeling and your essence is very powerful. So for entrepreneurs and stuff, it's perfect. Now, that's one way to package your content is the way you actually create the video. The other way, and probably the most important, is I like to call it the three T's of YouTube success. It's the YouTube Trinity, and that is the title, the thumbnail, and the first 30 seconds. And so, title, okay? What makes a good YouTube title? My definition of what makes a good YouTube title is simply, does it read like an article headline? There are people who went to college to learn how to write articles. So you can find article headlines on Google and change them in a way that suits the information you're sharing. So that's like such an easy way to have a great YouTube title. Right. Something that makes your YouTube titles very powerful, though, is if your titles are word pictures. So if your title makes somebody see something, I guess an example would be, let's just say a very basic example is how to build a successful personal brand in 2025. Like there's a word picture there. People see themselves in that title. Right. And then there's the time frame that's just like it causes a little bit of maybe urgency, to want to have the updated information about this idea. And then the next thing is the thumbnail. The thumbnail, you want no more than 3 things in your thumbnail, whether it's your face, text, and maybe an image or, a background. But you don't need your logo. You don't even need to reinstate your title in the thumbnail. Don't do that. Use the title to bring contrast, confusion, contrast and, curiosity. And one thing that would really makes thumbnails do really well are kind of like, asking a question phrase in the thumbnail. So how to build a successful personal brand in 2025, question phrase could be like, why no one follows you, Or
I'm stealing that, by the way.
there you go. You use it for this, you know.
I'm stealing that.
And here's what's crazy. When you do this right, the average viewer duration of a video starts before they actually watch your video. Because they're now processing the package that you just put in front of them. Mm-hmm. And they're like, for the right person, they're weighing, they're asking themselves the question because you put it in front of their face on the thumbnail. They're making the connection. They're like, so they're already like being sold into watching this content. So then they click on the video, and the next thing is the first 30 seconds. Right. For YouTube, you want 60% of retention in the first 30 seconds. So if 10 people click on your video, it's best practice that 6 people stay. That tells YouTube that this video isn't clickbait. That also tells YouTube that you communicated to the people that click this video that it aligns with the promise of the title and the thumbnail. So how do you do that? There's 3 C's. The first C for your YouTube intro is clarity. You want to make sure that when somebody clicks on a YouTube video, based on the title you've given it and the thumbnail you've given it, there's a level of resolve. Like, okay, I clicked on the right video. Yeah. So if it's like how to build your personal brand in 2025, they click on the video. Are you looking to build your personal brand in 2025? Like okay, cool. Like, yes, that's why I clicked on this video. Maybe another way you can do that is by enrolling them. You enroll them with a question, like I just did, but kind of like use pain or something they're struggling with. Yeah. In 2024, you probably told yourself you were going to build your personal brand, but here we are wrapping up the year and you still don't have engagement. You still don't know how to be consistent, and you want to tell yourself we're going to dominate it in 2025. Like I just reached your innermost, like, dang it, dude. Yes, that's me. So that is clarity. The next C is comprehension. Comprehension is something that I found just makes people realize that they get something in the first 30 seconds of value. Now, it doesn't mean you necessarily give a tip, but there is something you say where if they left at 30 seconds, they actually could apply it, right? So here's an example in the same idea. If you're looking to build your personal brand in 2025, today I'm going to be talking about how many times you should be posting on YouTube and how you can use that to build your business. That phrase tells somebody that YouTube can build your business. There's comprehension in that. Mm-hmm. Like that's telling somebody, oh, I didn't know like YouTube could build my business. So sometimes comprehension, it actually is giving away a gem. It's like, here's how you sell on Instagram. You sell it on Instagram by number 1, doing this, number 2, doing this. And it's just like a quick boom, boom. So in 30 seconds, I got something out of this. That like, and I'm coming from a place of psychology, like being able to really like connect with a viewer. And then the third C, so we have clarity, we have comprehension, and the third thing is credibility. Why should they even listen? Yeah. And so something you did really well in this podcast is you gave me credibility on why they should continue to listen. Now, there is wisdom in just jumping into something, but you want to be able to, maybe your tone brings out credibility, but sometimes it's just saying something you've accomplished. It's saying something you figured out, saying something you've condensed time from. So like, yeah, that's why you hear my podcast. I say, multiple 7-figure entrepreneur, best-selling author. Let's say they haven't done any of that stuff. Yeah. You're asking, you have me here, or you're delivering information because of a discovery. Right. So how did you discover that? That's credibility. So I posted 1,000 times on Instagram this year, and I'm going to talk about the top 3 takeaways. Yeah. That's credibility. Sure. One of my best performing solo podcasts without a guest was, I just said, did you know it's really hard to make $100,000 on YouTube, but it's really easy to make $100,000 with YouTube? I've been able to make multiple 7 figures on this platform, and I'm going to show you, boom, that's authority statement, a credibility statement. And those are really if your intro has those things, whether you use, stuff from inside the actual conversation or inside the thing to share, a lot more easier way to do it is to just script it out sometimes. But if you have those 3 C's, I found that people are going to stay and watch your video. Now you could lose them by getting repetitive. You can lose them by just not delivering right away. But those are the three things. I mean, that was a YouTube masterclass in 5-7 minutes.
Right.
And you should be able to succeed with that. What else when it comes to YouTube? Like, I mean, and that's why honestly, sometimes it doesn't always like hit. Yeah. I mean, but my best performing videos weren't my favorite videos.
Same.
They just so happen to resonate. And you know, at the end of the day, you just need to always, you know, define what's the objective to begin with.
Right.
The person I interviewed yesterday for my podcast has 1,000 subscribers and she's made $6 million coaching. So like her objective is different.
Right.
It's not virality. It's not large audiences. It's specific messaging for a specific group of people who want her help and have a lot of money to pay her for it. Like, there you go.
I'm actually glad you said that, because that leads me to my next question is, it is a dilemma that I have been in. And I know when people are watching my content, or they're watching their favorite content creators, and then they wonder why you've changed and shifted. And the reality is we evolve and life evolves. And like Sara Lovestyle, the brand has evolved. There's probably been 3 different evolutions of even influence to equity over the course of the last year. As I've tried to navigate, you said for you it was like around episode 10, and same, like my voice and my confidence and being more certain about the kind of content and the messaging of what I'm trying
which
to
is
say.
Which is another reason why it's not oversaturated, is because everyone's evolving.
Always.
So somebody that you feel like is in your industry and they're just doing it, I mean, one day they might call it quits.
Yep.
I have friends that have been doing a podcast for like 4.5 years, and they built a solid audience on YouTube and on Audible or whatever. And they're just like, it's been a journey. We're saying goodbye. I'm like,
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But it just speaks to like people change.
Yeah.
I was talking with Myron the other day about this. Russell Brunson he's doing his last live event, ClickFunnels Funnel Hacking Live in Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, it's the last time.
It's crazy.
Why? Because he doesn't want to anymore.
He doesn't want to.
Which tells me what? I don't know. If you want to start events, like just do
Now
it
there's
because
space
that's
for
what you want to do. It.
Yeah.
There's like, I just wanted to speak to that because like, because we're all evolving, it's another reason why it's not oversaturated.